Hi everybody, it's Valerie back again. We're going to do an owl today. I'm going to do a version in color and I'm going to do a version with charcoal. I just want to let you know, oops, Daphne's got my needed eraser. So for the charcoal, I'm using a charcoal like this. It comes in a little stick because you get a whole box of them. And then you can put a little tape around there if you don't like it to get your fingers too dirty. If you like a pencil, the pencils are great too, but what you're looking for is there's letters on the side, and this one it says 4B. You want something in the B range because you need to have something that's soft enough to get a nice black, and it's easy to smudge, and it's also easier to erase it. A 6B tends to be really soft, and it might just sort of fall apart when you're using it. So a 4B is ideal, that's what I have. The only problem is that you're going to need to sharpen it all the time, and they're hard to sharpen. If you drop them, the lead breaks inside, and the charcoal breaks inside, and then, they just keep you, the next thing you know, you don't have any pencil left. So this is kind of a little more economical if you can stand having your fingers get a little dirty. The other thing you want to have is an eraser. And this is a kneaded eraser, and they're really inexpensive, and this is ideal for smudging things and also for erasing bits. It looks kind of like this when you're using it. You squish it around like a piece of clay. The other thing you can use is an eraser just kind of like this too. How are we doing, Daphne?
Good.
All right, good. So that's the deal with the charcoal. I'm going to use that. You'll see that it just makes things a lot more exciting because it gets these nice blacks versus pencil. But if you love pencil, draw with a pencil. I think we talked the same thing. Get a soft leaded pencil, something in the B range at least. If you have one at home and it's yellow and it says Ticonderoga on the side and it's a number 2, it's a 2B. It'll work fine. Okay? And today I'm going to use these kind of pastels. A lot of times you get them in a kit for Christmas or something like that, and they're a little bit harder than the other ones that I use, but that means they don't break as easily. But there's a few more colors, so I'm going to use that today because this isn't super colorful. Okay, let's do it. Everybody ready? Mm-hmm. So the owl itself, we'll think of it in kind of like 2 pieces. And remember, we have a tree here, and there's also a moon. If you want to have somebody who's not drawing or whatever, grab you a cereal bowl or a little sandwich plate or something. You can use that to kind of trace around and get around your moon. But it's not a big deal if you don't have one. The head is kind of square, and we have those little pointy, little triangle ears, and then we have the piece down here, which is sort of oval. Okay. The one thing about him is that he's turned a little bit, so you're seeing that there's a little bit more wing here and a little less wing here. And we'll do that, it's pretty simple. And, I don't want to forget to get this tree in here. Because we're drawing, we have to think about the things that are in front right from the beginning, because we don't want to have to try to draw them on top of all these other lines that we already made. And it won't make too much difference, but, okay? Everything good?
Yes.
Okay. So let's get started. We're going to start with a line that's about for the top of his head. If you put it here, you're not going to have very much room for your owl. So get it up here, okay? Our owl is a little bit to the left side here. If you do it smack in the middle, that's okay. But not way over here. I've seen that. It is about the owl, so you want to have room for that. So get it up close. It's a little high, but so maybe around here, okay? If you get it in the wrong place and you start drawing and you don't think it works, flip your piece of paper over and use the other side, or just draw it where you want to, and we will color it. We'll color over it and correct it. Okay, so there's your first little bit. That's sort of his head here, and then I'm going to bring these, and if you look, they're kind of slant out a little bit rather than right straight up and down. That will truly change his personality by which way you twitch the ears, okay? So you're going to go a little to this direction and a little, I'll make it a little darker.
Yeah.
A little this way and a little that way. You make it as light as you can do for now, and that way you can, make the darker lines at the end and really define it. Okay, so that's the starting bit. Try that out. Where's my charcoal? Okay, so for me, with my charcoal, I'm going to start right around here, and I'm going to make a line like that. Okay? Now what we want to do is find a spot about in the middle of the face, and we're going to come from the ear dot, okay? One of the keys to making it look like an owl is this triangle-y piece on the forehead, okay? And the other big thing is that the eyeballs are actually kind of small, but it has these other rings that go around. That's the whole, you know, owl thing, okay? Start with the, like right around in the middle, start with 2 circles, okay? Real close to that triangle if you can get it. Okay? Then this one has all that, this sort of circle, and then we'll have a ring around the outside of that, kind of like this. If you run out of room, you made them big and they don't fit, don't worry about it. Just an extra, at least one ring around there. But you see how we're not seeing the whole thing, it's only part. Okay? And go around again. Maybe I'll fill this one in a little bit. Alright. Okay. We'll do here, down here. Alright. So far so good, right? Okay. I'm not going to have you put the beak in just yet, because it's going to be darker, and we'll just, well, maybe we'll sketch it in. So he has a little, just the outline of it. Don't color it in just yet. Okay, so a little V, skinny little V there. Okay, so what happens is, we're going to go around the side of his face, maybe with little sketchy, little feathery line, kind of like that. He's kind of squared off, so you can kind of have a straight line along the bottom. But if you go in a little piecey like that, then it will look a little more like feathers. All right, we'll do that. Okay. Just realize that his beak, you know, almost touching the bottom of his face. So we should be in sort of that right there. Okay. Same with the ears. There's a little feathering kind of on the inside of those. Okay. Easy so far, right? Very easy. That's the hardest part. You go through. Okay. The next thing I want to do is I want to put this branch in here because we want to make sure that the branch is in front of his body. Okay. So we have to figure out about how big. Well, we're going to figure out in this case where to put the branch. So if I measure the size of his head and I come from about his beak down, I realize that this branch sits a little bit lower than one side of his head. So if I measure the size of my head, so take your thumb and put it on the chin and put your pointer finger on the top and then put your pointer finger here. That brings me down to here, and then I'm going to say, well, I'm going to go just a little bit lower than that. And I'm going to bring, you know, within reason. You don't want to run out of room. It's not mathematical, you know, you just, right. But that's a rough way to go about it. Because the bird could be stretched out, or it could be hunched up like this, and it could be shorter or smaller. It's not like it can't change. So there's that. I'm going to start a little thinner here and get a little bigger as I go towards the side. So we don't forget, I'm going to have you put the tree in. And the branch can be on the inside of the tree, so you could actually put it like this. I'm going to have this come up. Same thing, before I go all the way to the top, if you did, that's fine. I'm going to put a branch in here. I'm going to have it go right like this. Okay. Okay, that way I don't wind up with a line that goes through the branch. Not that that's a big deal. Okay? Okay? Try that. We'll let you get caught up on the tree part. I'm going to do the same thing down here. If you didn't quite catch it, watch again right here. So I'm measuring the head. I'm going to put my fingers like this. And that means I'm right about here. So I'm going to go just a little bit lower. I'm going to sketch a line across. This can tilt. I mean, branches do everything, so don't worry about how it goes. Across like that. I'm going to have my tree. I'm going to have another branch that comes from here. Every time you overlap, it tells the person looking at your picture that you've created space, that one thing is in front of another thing, and that just tells your brain that there's space, meaning that we could just, you know, walk in here into our picture and, you know, beyond the tree and off into the woods. Like, it makes it a real scene, okay? I've got that. Whoops, I got a little slope to my tree. Okay. All right. We're going to put the feet on there in the front. I'm going to have a little bit of a line on them, but don't worry, we'll get rid of that. Okay? And what you do, just remember that, you know, an owl has big feet. These don't need to be teeny weeny. They have to be able to catch, you know, great big fish out of the river and, you know, drag them back to their nest. So you want big claws. Don't try to make them teensy-tiny, okay? So I'm going to take my brown and I'm going to, this one is a little over to the side of his head. So if I go over this way a little bit, let me think, is that how I think we'll do, actually, wait a minute, before I do this, I'm going to do the outline of the body. But before we do, we'll do the feet before we do the wings. Sorry about that. So this spot, this low spot on his tail lines up kind of with that eye. So I want you to go over to the eye on the left, and I want you to come down like this, and below the branch, you're going to make a little spot. Okay? That's going to help turn him just a little bit. So he's going to be looking over his shoulder a little bit rather than don't do that. You want to go right down the middle. Okay? Won't make any difference to the picture in the end. Start out here, and we're going to round his shoulder out a little bit and then come out there. You don't want to go through the branch. If that was the whole point of doing the branch first. Okay? So same thing down here if you missed that. I'm going to go to about where the eye is. I'm going to make that dot down below, and then I'm going to sketch out around. Okay? And then on the other side, we'll just kind of comes in, brings that over here. Okay? All right, before we put the wings on, we're going to do the feet. And what you do with that is you make three, I don't know how many fingers, claws a owl really has. You make 3 bumps on the top of the branch, up above, okay? And then you go underneath and you make the 3 smile direction. The three skinny rainbows and then 3 really skinny smiles on the bottom, okay? Same thing over here. So 3 bumps, and then 3 bumps, 3 curves the other way, okay? And that'll look a little bit like claws when we get done, okay? Let me try that again down here. Okay. I think this guy. So we're going to find a line for where the wing is. So that's sort of coming this here on the side. Maybe kind of over like that. And skinnier here. So there's just a little bit of a sliver and a little more chest. Okay. Same thing down here. I need a little, well, that's all right. So here, I have a skinnier one down here, I guess. Or I can add it on the outside too. Okay. So far so good? It's kind of strange to be down here all by myself when I'm doing, so, you're out there. You know, just like the video when you're done, and then I'll know you were here. Okay, before we color, before I forget, let's grab your plate, and I am going to use blue. So I'm going to put this on his head. It's nice to have a little sliver of blue maybe here, so I would maybe not have it touch the tree. Anywhere you want. If you have a smaller, this is the thing about it when you, especially when you do the charcoal, is that, well, I guess on both cases, you're gonna have to color in around your owl to make it look like nighttime. So the bigger you make the moon, the less coloring in you have to do. So keep that in mind. So I'm gonna go here, and I'm not gonna go through the branch, and I'm gonna go over this way, and here, and then I'll have a big moon, and I won't color in all of that. Let me do this one down here too. All right. Okay. All right. So let's start with some coloring. So I think where I'm going to go first are the eyes. I think I'm going to use yellow for my owl's eyes rather than the orange, and maybe while I'm at it I'll give him yellow. And this is the thing about the pastels, even the kind that are a little harder, they will pick up the color of the brown, and so it makes them a little golder, but it also, the brown looks like shadow. Okay, if you're down here, maybe what I'll do is I'll smudge this in. Another little thing you might like to get cheap is a little paper stub, and if you have a hard time getting your finger in there, you can use that to blend. So I'm going to have a darker ring around a lighter one with the color of the okay, kind of like that. All right. I'm going to, I like the orange on here, so I'm going to add some orange on this one. This part, all of the coloring is, that's the time for you to do whatever you want. The only suggestion I'm going to make is pick a light color and a dark color. Okay, light color as something, you know, light is closer to white, dark is closer to, say, black. But you want maybe your belly to have be a lighter version, and then the wings be a dark version, or the other way around. But that way, if they're all kind of the same, then you don't see the difference. Make green wings and a pink belly. That would be a contrast of color, and that will work great too, instead of a contrast of value. Okay. I guess we're in the same place with both now. I think I will do the lighter stuff first, and then I will do the darker stuff, and then I'm going to add a little accent on there. Okay? So I'm going to use, I've got this kind of peachy color. If they get a little dirty, have a little rag handy, and you just color, or a piece of paper, or a scrap piece of paper. Take that. So I'm going to color in here, and while I'm at it, I'm going to pick up a little of the brown, let that blend in. Okay, that's my light version. I'm excited to see all versions of this owl today. It'll be awesome. Yeah, and then maybe here. This would be fun to do with markers or something too. That'd be worthwhile, because there's not really a lot of shading. We're not going to really worry about that, because if this owl would have to be having a flash on it to look this light with the moon behind it, because it would be in silhouette. So it's not really we're not worrying about a truthful lighting situation. We're just coloring it. Okay? So go ahead with the lighter or the darker, whatever you're doing. With mine down here, what I'm going to do is take my finger and I'm going to smudge the face in, and maybe those little feet. Okay. Probably have to go a little darker with the claws. If you want to get a little crazy and have some little sharp talons on there. It might work later, but okay. I'm hold off with the black. next thing to do would be the darker shade, whatever you're going to do with that. I'm just going to go ahead and kind of go with what's here. So I'll use a darker shade of brown. I'm very disappointed that I can't listen to music, but I don't have the publishing rights to the songs on the radio, so I can't. They told me I couldn't play any songs because I always listen to the radio or something when I draw or have classes. If anybody has a solution to that, let me know. There's that. Nice little forehead in there. I won't worry much about the inside of the ears because we're gonna take a even darker color and do a little accenting with that. All right. So, also if you throw me a dollar or two, you can make a donation on my webpage. It's Valerie Wallace Fine Arts. And you go to the ticket page, and there's you see a picture of me, and you can put in as little as $1, and then I know you're out there, which is great, because sometimes I think maybe, is this something that people want or not want? So let me know. But if trust me, I know what it's like when even $1 is a lot. So if that's kind of hard for you, just send me a message or just share the video. That would be just as awesome. I'd love to be able to reach anybody out there that's looking for something to do, keep themselves busy. I know some of you, are really always wanting to learn a little bit, so that's great. And then some of you can already, draw better than I can, but it's maybe just a reason to get started, maybe something you can do with someone else in your house, your roommate, your kid, and that's sort of the purpose, just something to do. Okay. All right. How are we doing? Are we good? Obviously you can spend more time coloring things. I will tell you that if you're using colored pencils, if you go back later and you put a second coat of colored pencils on your pictures, you are going to be way more satisfied because it's really, it's hard to do them quickly and really get a good dose of color on there. Okay. Before we finish the details here, let's go ahead and sort out the tree in the background. So the trick is with the black and white is to color the sky and color the tree, but don't have them exactly the same so that you can't see that the tree is there. So what I would do is we're going to think about how there's going to be a section right here of the tree that's going to wind up being a little bit lighter. Okay? I'm going to put a little extra black on the bottom of my branch. This, and then I'm going to blend that into the upper part of the branch. Okay. Actually, yeah, make sure you get it right in here too. Don't forget it's between the feet. On my color version, I love this kooky greenish color that's on there. So I'm going to use that along my edge here. When you can, if you can color a tree kind of side to side, all the better. That helps with the feeling of it going around. But if you can't, it won't make any difference. I'm going to bring a little of that here and here. I'm going to have it be pretty dark against where the moon is. Okay. And then, I think I have, maybe I'll use it watched any of the other videos, or maybe you already know, I like to put two colors on things as much as I can. So I'm going to add a different color on top of this green. And partly what it will do is change the color a little bit, but it'll also kind of blend it so there's less white that shows. It's harder to do it with your finger because it's sort of thick. Right in here, make it nice and dark. A lot of brown, but I'll get something up my sleeve planned. So here, to make it look like the branch is going onto the tree, we're going to connect this into the bark a little bit, and that'll help make that. And these would be nice and dark. So finished with that part if you're using the color, and if you're using the black, I'm going to do the same little darker on the bottom of the branch, a little darker in here. Alright, and then see that. Maybe a little more. What did I say? Just a little further. I was going to leave there, right? It's starting to look like nighttime. Because an owl is what kind of animal? I'm used to having classes with, you know, adults, but also a room full of kids. I offer classes for up to 10 in my studio here, and I get answers, but I should answer my own question now. Okay, so they're nocturnal. Okay, oh, the other thing I wanted to do, I'm going to take a little white here, and I'm going to bring that on the lighter version, and that'll kind of smudge that in there. Okay, let's go ahead. We'll get the background, the colored in, and then we're going to do a few little fine-tuning bits to the owls, and you know, that will be good. Okay, and then you can go teach your stuffed animals like how to draw owls. If you felt like you wanted stars, I would draw them in there first because you're going to color around that. It'd be a little bit hard for me to do it with these big chunky things, but we do this owl, this version, a lot of times with snow, which actually doesn't make sense when the moon's there, but doesn't usually snow when the moon's out. But we don't care. We do whatever we want. But since we're not painting, we're not putting snow on here. But if you wanted that, I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense with my picture, but say you did, you know, you could draw your little stars, or you could make little small spots, kind of like in clusters maybe. And then what you happen would be is that you draw around and you leave a little bit of white behind. But you have to be really careful about how you color it in. You can't color it in really scraggly because it won't show. You have to set up the contrast. You have to have the dark part against those little tiny white bits. See if I can do it, and you can decide whether it's worth a bother. I'm obviously not going to be able to wait for everybody to put stars in, so if you're going to do that, you may have to do that later. If you do it, it might work. Otherwise than that, let's go ahead and color in. Just be vigilant to where your moon is. I mean, not that if you color it in or you color it blue, then you just color something a different color. That's all right. Make it into another kind of thing. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and that. So it's going to be here, 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 here. Okay? Same thing with the black. Don't forget. So I'm going to get that colored in. If you like to make it look like a sunset, do that. If you want to make it, you know, pink, purple, magenta, do that. If you want to leave it white, do that. That's what it's going to look like here, because we are going to get snow. I don't know where you are. I know most of you people I know, but I'm here in Orono, Maine, and it's cold, and it's going to snow. And snow in March is nowhere near as attractive as it is in November or December, in my opinion. And even the people who like skiing, they can't even do it. So I've been there, not so crazy about it either. But it is what it is. Doesn't look that great outside anyway. Right now it's kind of brown. I know some places it is flowers and sunshine and green. I'm just going to color over those. I don't need those. There we go. Yeah. Okay. Get that colored in. So with my owl, I have to be a little bit conscious of where, my owl, of my black and white owl, I have to think a little bit about where different shades of gray meet up against each other. That's what drawing is really all about. It's not about making perfect little lines around, you know, nostrils and stuff like that. It's putting shapes of shadow up against other shapes of shadow or light. So right here, where I have the bottom of my branch, I'm going to go super dark with that. And then I'm going to go a little bit, try to put it a little bit lighter. And, you know, as you get better at controlling how dark you draw something, you can just do it that way. Or you take your ruby little eraser, and it, you know, it doesn't make it white, but it makes it lighter, so that you can see the difference between where the branch is and where the sky is, even though they're both colored black. They're just different shades of black, or different shades of gray. Okay, so on the top, it doesn't matter so much, and it won't matter over here against the tree, but it will matter up next to the owl's wing. And actually, because I want to put a little texture on his wing, what I'm going to do in this case, I think, is I'll take a little bit off the wing and go blacker in the sky. So that's how that works. And if you didn't know that you could erase charcoal, then you probably didn't like it very much. But once you realize you can, it's way more fun. Way, way, way more fun. Right, Daphne?
Right.
That is...
Righteous.
How are we doing?
Looks good.
Did I lose everybody?
No, you got 10 people watching right now.
Woohoo!
Veronica's a top fan.
Well, I would hope so.
It says it like...
The top fan has a diamond.
Yeah, yeah, Veronica has it.
There. Alright. Sliver up in here. Alright. Should be colored in by now. Next to this. Okay, so I gotta erase my edge a little bit. Okay. Alright, let's get something dark and let's put in just a few little details and we'll call it good. And then I will anxiously await the postings of your beautiful owls. Thanks everybody who's sent me pictures of their other pictures, because that's like I don't get to see them, so it's like really fun. Okay, so I'm going to use, instead of black, I'm going to use purple, dark purple. Okay. First thing, of course, what we've got to do is we've got to put a little eyeball in here so that our owl is no longer a zombie. Okay. Maybe put a little bit along here, and we're going to get the tufts underneath the ears. We get a little tufts. We're going to put those in. Okay, maybe like right along the edge there. Okay. If you can do the nose, if maybe you want black, if you leave just a little bit of white sliver in the middle, let me see, might look a little bit like it has a little shine on it. It does have a little dark that runs around its face on the outside of the light. So if you want, you can kind of feather in a dark version like that. This one has it come kind of underneath a little. You can decide that or not. All right. Oh, ouch. And I want to give a little texture to my wings, so I'm gonna do probably this line here too, and then some little shapes like that. Maybe a little down here. Here it might be a little harder to see them, but you could do something. All right, so do that. I guess I do want a little here too. Ooh, that's dirty. Oh, that's okay. Okay, so see about filling that in. If you need, you know, maybe I want to go around these claws and I can make them pointier. Again, it's more about getting things dark where they need to be dark and light where they need to be light than it is really about the color. You can use whatever colors you want. That comes. It takes a long time to figure out how to get colors just how you want them and mixing paint and things like that. But in the meantime, so this also a lot of times they have those little lines in there, so I'm going to do that, I guess. I would start with the horizontal one maybe, like right here, 3 o'clock for the old people. And that way they get out a little mark like that, okay? So get that part caught up. I guess I can erase that a little bit too. I got too many, the hands are too dirty. So make sure you wash your hands all the time, but especially after using your charcoal. Alright, so I wanted to make this wing light enough so I can see my texture. So make sure you do that. If you've already started, you can always erase it and do it again, you know. So I'm going to go, oh yeah, so I'm making this a little lighter too, maybe, so I can see the inside. Okay, so I'll go a little inside of the tufts of the ears. Nose, bring that nice and big. Not my nose, my beak. Ooh, little spots. It's the little details at the end that really put things together. So here I'll put my these are all the parts that make the difference. If you take some pictures of your picture as you're working on it, you'll be surprised how things change from the time that you're kind of in the middle to at the end when you put all the details on. It's really kind of cool. All right. So yes, I'm in Orono, and I teach art classes, and I do the paint and sips. I can do the parties. Well, obviously not right now unless we did it by Skype, but you're not supposed to be with anybody, so I don't know. I guess we'll do that eventually. We'll get back there. And I'm a 1988 graduated Rhode Island School of Design, and this is what I do. So thanks for supporting me. The last thing I'm going to do is, I think I want my moon not to be pure white. I'm going to take a little of this, run that in there a little bit. That doesn't have to be super white. And on this one, you could stay white. You could take, probably best to keep away from it, but I could blend a little of this blue at the edges, kind of up into it, just to give it a little not so flat. Or you can color it in light blue or green. Fill it all in, whatever you want to do. But everybody's always a little concerned about coloring white on white paper, but it won't hurt you. All right. Okay. Valerie Wallace Fine Arts, thanks so much for drawing with me today, and you can watch these videos, or if you want to share it with somebody, it'll be on my my Facebook page. And you can, when you do a picture, if you put the @ sign and Valerie Wallace Fine Arts, then it will go to my Facebook page, my arts page, rather than my personal page. Then other people can see it that aren't necessarily friends. And if you want to post your picture in the comments underneath, you shouldn't have any trouble. I think some can't post them just on my page. But you can do it there. Okay? All right. Thanks again. See you tomorrow at 1 o'clock.